Hey guys, I'm Samcrac, and you might think because I have two BMWs and a Range Rover that I'm drowning in WAP, and the truth is, I am. Today we're going to focus mainly on the Range Rover WAP, a car that has been mechanically challenged since day one, a car that I have yet to take out on the road, but we're going to change that by the end of this video. This car came back a few weeks ago from the mechanic when it was supposed to be finished. 3, 2, 1. Oh. It wasn't quite all the way finished. There's a few little things we got to button up, and then we're going to take it out of here. And I swear if it acts up, I'm driving it straight to the salvage yard because I've had enough with it. Anyway, I'm going to give you a quick update on the BMW M3, car that a lot of you have been asking about. I'm literally waiting on one last replacement part, and that is a set of headlight lenses. The ones that I took off this car were just in really rough shape. Otherwise, the rest of the headlight, we're going to reuse, reassemble everything. We're going to put a OEM air intake box in here to get rid of this ugly, thick metal pipe, and then a light maintenance, some oil, some coolant, a few other fluids. We'll assemble the front end, kidney grills, bumper, brand new BMW badge. It's going to be complete. And it's tough justifying keeping this car around when you have an extremely cheap and decent condition V10 M5 sitting next to it. Now this is a car that I really want your input on because I think this is one of the most popular cars for repair videos, for build videos, for I picked it up cheap videos, period. They've all been done. And realistically, this car does have, well, mechanical issues. If you look at the body, it's actually in really good shape other than some crack in the paint and the bumper down here. Now I haven't figured out exactly what's wrong with it, but it's just one of these cars that sold so cheap. If you didn't buy it, you're leaving money on the table. So this could go two ways, and this is where I really want your feedback. Do you want to see this car mechanically sorted? Now, as long as it makes sense on a money front, I'll do it. These cars have parts that are very costly depending on what's wrong, but if it's not too far gone, we could definitely repair it. If not, well, this is a car that could simply be flipped. I could go through the process of buying the car and showing you how to just move it auction to auction to make a little bit of money while selling it totally as is. Now this car has a rare red interior, something I've never seen on any other car. I thought that this was going to be more like a brown when I saw it in the photos, and it's really in nice shape all over. It's one of these cars that, again, will probably be very fun once it is all sorted, if it can be sorted. But as we've learned with the Range Rover, some WAPs can be total money drains. So let me know down in the comment section below what you want to see done with the BMW M5. And now let's finish this Range Rover so we can move on to some more WAP. Now there's this new song, it's called WAP. I can't stop listening to it. I really enjoy the theme of WAP. I'm just into WAP in general, but to really experience WAP for yourself, you gotta listen to it on a set of Raycon everyday E25 wireless earbuds. These things make your music come to life.
There's some hens in this house. There's some hens in this house. There's some hens in this house. There's some hens in this house.
YouTube certified tech. All my cars are wrecked. Wrecked projects, all my fixes never checked. I've told you about the crisp bassy sound you can come to expect from your set of everyday E25s. Also, all-day battery life thanks to this tiny little wireless charging capsule. But did you know that Raycon stands by their product with a 45-day money-back guarantee? If for some reason these do not fit your lifestyle, they'll take them back, no questions asked, totally for free. So go ahead and check out Raycon at buyraycon.com/Samcrac, or just click my link in the description box below. While you're there, you're gonna get an additional 15% off the already really low price. These are about 50% less in cost than the other boutique brands, and they sound just as good. So again, that's buyraycon.com/Samcrac. I gotta give a huge thanks to Raycon for giving me the full WAP experience and for also sponsoring this video. So before this car came home, it did have that check engine light right there, and I was told and shown that it was because of a pre-cat O2 sensor. Now those are actually very important. You want to make sure your pre-cats are functioning properly. I have the replacement part. So right now we're mainly concerned with the powertrain control module, and seeing that it showed only one fault code means it's going to be that fault code 4 right there. Bank 1, sensor 1, bank 1, which is passenger side here, sensor 1, that's going to be the one before the catalytic converter, and that's a very important one. When those aren't working properly, basically it could put the engine into a limp mode because it doesn't know how to monitor itself. And look at what I'm seeing right off the bat. That is definitely what that is. Look, here's the O2 sensor right here, okay? Where's that plugged into? That's loose. There's nothing even I bought a replacement O2 sensor. I'm almost betting we're not even gonna have to replace it. It just wasn't plugged in. I snake the wire down right there. Just gotta be plugged in right where you see it empty. And I'm assuming this is really freaking hot. Yeah, it's really hot.
I slid onto the Rover and plugged the O2 connector in. The car finally ran and idled properly. Although it was clear by its noise, we still had an exhaust leak. I found that either side mid-pipe was loosely connected. I tightened all the nuts, and while the noise was reduced, it still remained.
To find an exhaust leak by feel, it's important everything's cooled down. So this car sat overnight. What I'm gonna do is just start the car really quick, come in here, and just kind of put my hand close to the manifold. Now, I'm gonna have to do this really quick because this manifold will get hot within a few seconds. But if I can feel any sort of like pressure, basically air just pushing its way past somewhere, that means that's where our leak is coming from. If not, we can shut it off and then move underneath the car and do the same thing. All right, here we go. Okay, so I definitely felt something. It wasn't coming from up front, it was coming from the back end here. So that's what we're gonna have to focus on. Now the elbow for this pipe, let's see if I can feel it. It could be the elbow, the top of the elbow, or it could be the back end of the manifold, and all that we're probably gonna have to access from underneath the car. Now just to be able to demonstrate this to you, I'm gonna do it again, but I'm gonna stick a piece of paper in the same area to show you that it moves around a lot because there's a lot of pressure in that area.
My friend Turbo Mike popped over to make this test a bit easier, and he confirmed he felt the air escaping from the same area. So he helped me support the massive exhaust, we loosened everything, and gained access to the manifold elbow nuts, which again were loose.
I think we're probably about 3 minutes away, maybe 5 minutes away from no more exhaust leak. Basically, Mike and I took both of these sides down. So I was holding up one half of the exhaust. You can see how large it is, it's all one piece. I was holding up one half, he was holding up the other half, and basically the coupler, I'll just show you on my side, that goes in between this and there. You see those nuts? We rearranged it, we adjusted it basically, fixed the stud, all new parts. Look at all those new shiny nuts. It's gonna work. Ooh, ooh, Mike, we gotta get out of here. All right, it's getting real windy. Oh, Mike, we gotta go. Where's Mike's keys? Right here. What the heck which one's even? Oh, it's in the ignition. Oh, I left the ignition on. Okay. Oh, 205,000 miles. That's pretty good. Built Ford tough. What's up? I put your wrench in here.
We finished things just in time, and as soon as the sun came out, I took the Rover out for its first drive.
What do you know? We're about 3 miles into our first drive here. Check engine light just came on. Luckily, I've got my scanner with me in the car. I'm gonna plug it in. Let's see what it says. Misfires on 2, 4, and 6. So the way that the engine is numbered in this Range Rover, in this specific 5-liter engine, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the fact that we had misfires on 2, 4, and 6 all on one side is concerning.
Remember when I got the car back and the O2 sensor was unplugged? Well, there was quite a bit more stuff left to mess. Besides wiring harnesses left disconnected from their bracketing, I found a few loose valve cover bolts and specifically one loose coil pack on the bank that was throwing our code. I tightened everything up, cleared the codes, and tested for vacuum leaks.
Got it in sport shift mode. We've cleared all our codes again. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a high revving run here and make sure that it feels right and that no codes return. Well, I would say that feels like 500 horsepower in a big, gigantic SUV. It's pretty darn quick.
The car lasted maybe 10 miles before it threw the same misfire codes again, this time all cylinders on the driver's side bank. It also went into a restricted performance mode, basically a limp mode. The car lost all of its power and I drove back home slowly. At first I was determined to nail down our problem and finally finish this car, but simple tests turned into me bringing back out the compression and leak down gauges. In the rare case the catalytic converter was plugged on the driver's side, I created an air gap, and after days of diagnosis on our supercharged Range Rover, I could find nothing definitively different than any time before.
I tend not to try and put my emotions out on video unless it's excitement and enthusiasm, but in the case of this Range Rover, this has struck so many nerves to me. I've been disappointed, angry, like all the negative emotions, that it is time for me right now to stop doing any more work on this car, to just cut the cord. And I want to give you a little bit more context as to why. And of course, when we wrap up a project here, I always go through all the numbers, so I'm going to do that as well. Now, from the beginning, this is a project that started out fairly smooth and was progressing in a nice manner. We hit roadblock number 1. Then the car was disassembled again, put back together, and we are still stuck at roadblock number 1. The unfortunate part is to disassemble the engine in this car takes at least 5 to 10 hours, even at the hands of a trained tech. So you put everything back together, and the only way to really test the timing of the car is to take it down, do your adjustments, put it back together all the way with the supercharger up, and press the push to start button. Now, at one point during these roadblocks, I stopped everything I was doing and I just started testing literally everything to make sure we were working with a car that could be fixed here. You might have saw me do the leak down test, the compression test, and then there were several other little tests, like the vacuum leak test that I performed when I got the car back, many code readings, and hours spent on the phone with several European technicians and also a couple of Land Rover Jaguar technicians. At one point, I put the camera down and was making parts runs and tool runs to the point where I didn't make a video, I think, for something like 10 or 14 days because I was so focused on figuring out what the issues were with this car. So when it was negotiated to just kind of send this car off to the mechanic and have it back working, it was going to be a huge burden off my shoulders. I could move on to some other projects, continue making my videos, because this is obviously a big part of my life now, and I can't afford to lose the amount of time that I was sinking into this car. So when it returned to me, in basically the same condition that we had before, minus a camshaft correlation code, mind you. I want to be totally fair. I don't want you to jump to conclusions until I finish this part here, all right? Imagine you pay to have a car fixed and you receive it back. It works for literally a couple miles before it breaks again. Who do you want to point the finger at? You guys know the answer to that, but I can't do that. It's not on me to do that. We're dealing with a car here that was kind of a mechanical mystery in the beginning. And so we're at one of two places with this car now. Either there is something so small and silly still wrong with it, and that could be something so small and silly that's halfway down in the engine that the whole engine has to be torn down to get to repair and rectify, or it could be something that is so major, like the bottom end of the engine is toast, and we've been dealing with that the entire time. Now, we did so many tests along the way, visual and actual, gauge measured tests, that I don't want to believe that there's anything wrong with the block. I simply think there's something still timing related with this car, but at this point, I can't afford to invest any more time in it. When this car arrived here, and I drove it the couple times I did, I probably booked a whole 15 miles on it. I would stop, pull over, and for an hour, check the codes, clear the codes, search it online. And no joke, I'm not the only person that's had this same identical issue after A, a timing job, and B, just randomly. There's no doubt in my mind that this issue can be fixed. It always comes down to what though? Time and money. and I've spent too much money, and I've spent way too much even of my personal time trying to figure out what's going into this. So I apologize dearly to each and every one of you, but there comes a time in anything in life, especially an automotive project where there's a million other Range Rovers out there, to just stop what you're doing and stop dumping your resources into it. Sometimes this is just how these things end up. Not everything has that perfect ending. Now, as far as the numbers go on this Range Rover, I touted it a bunch of times. We paid under $4,000 for the car. I think the final bid was $3,850, and the condition of it, it's just impeccable with a ton of new parts. Besides all the new parts we threw into it. Talking about those parts, just internally inside the engine, there's probably about $3,500 worth. Now, there was even more than that with all the new cam gears. Those were removed. Those were shipped back because they were deemed faulty. Labor and random parts store runs and miscellaneous things. I think I threw a battery in it. It's got to be at least another $3,000, if not another $3,500. This car was transported back and forth between me and the mechanic, and just every little corner, you know, you're missing the gaskets, those little exhaust gaskets that we dealt with earlier. Those are probably $10 a piece at the Land Rover dealership, so everything is a nickel and dime session. The only good news is that right now, salvage and even parts car prices are extremely high at the salvage auction. I'd anticipate this car fetching somewhere in the neighborhood of about $6,000 to $8,000, maybe $9,000 on a really good day. It is slightly better than when we started with it because, well, it's got a ton of brand new parts in it, which are worth good money. And there's a major Land Rover parts recycling facility that is global down the street from me. They pull the engines from these cars and they rebuild them, and then they sell them for over $10,000. I would think as long as the block itself is fine, this is a prime engine to rebuild, again, with all the brand new parts in it. Now, if you're disappointed and already typing in that angry comment about another unfinished project and wish I would finish this, go ahead, give me a dislike. But if you understand where I'm coming from, go ahead and hit the like button. Did you know that only about a quarter of you guys watching actually subscribe to the channel? It's just one of the new stats that I got from YouTube. So I want to know why more of you aren't hitting the subscribe button down there. Go ahead and click it. Of course, I've got all my other social and contact information in the description box below. I want to give a huge thanks to each and every one of you for watching today, and I'll catch you very soon.